What's up, Active Lifers? Welcome back to the Active Life Podcast. I'm Dr. Sean Pastuch. I'm your host. Today's guest is Andrea Werner. She is one of the owners at Ferrum Athletic Company in Jacksonville, Florida, formerly known as CrossFit Ferrum. She and her partner, Sherry, have been ProPath clients since the spring of 2020, right before the whole world shut down. They enrolled with us. And today we had the pleasure of a conversation of hearing how things have changed in Andrea's gym from being a CrossFit gym with over 300 members to a gym with, well, I'm not going to spoil it for you, but things are better. Let's just leave it at that. The reason I wanted to have Andrea on the podcast is because the way that she and her partner Sherry lead their gym, lead their staff and their members is inspiring to me. Once they decide something is important to them, they pursue it with everything that they have. Once they decide that something no longer fits within their core values, they eliminate it with everything that they have, regardless of the potential cost to them, financially, emotionally, energetically, it's gone. And to me, that there's nothing that exemplifies integrity more than that. So I thought it would be valuable for you to have the opportunity to listen to a conversation that I had with Andrea Werner at Ferrum Athletic Company about how they do that. Let's get to it. Andrea Werner, welcome to the Active Life Podcast.
Dr. Sean, it's a pleasure.
It's my pleasure. I mean, I appreciate that it's yours too, but I'm really excited to chat with you.
Listen, I listen to this podcast every Sunday on my long walk, and this is like a fangirl moment.
Well, do you think you're going to listen to your own?
I don't know.
You need to.
That's a great question.
You need to.
I'll send it to everybody else and I'll let them give me the feedback.
No, you definitely need to listen to your own. It's like watching game film. Sometimes you miss a tackle, sometimes you make it.
That's a good point. And then I can, learn what I need to talk about better.
Yeah. So I remember the day that you decided to start working with us. I remember where I was. I was sitting in the kitchenette of our previous office pre-COVID, when we still thought we were going to have a business model where people flew out 4 times a year. So we needed a big space and all this kind of stuff. I believe it was October, if I'm not mistaken, but it might have been later than that. Anyway, you guys were already doing a really good job. You and Sherry were already doing a really good job at CrossFit Ferrum at the time, is what you were calling it. Yep. And the thing that you, I think, were looking for the most help with was developing more of a personal training arm to your business. And over time, that's evolved, as we've evolved, to not only providing personal training services, but to setting everything up to really serve an audience who you previously weren't the best suited model to serve, which means in some ways you're no longer the best model for the people who are in your business at the time, right? As you shift, you start being right for someone and less right for someone else. What was the hardest part for you? And I won't ask you to speak for Sherry, but what was the hardest part for you in shifting who you wanted to focus on?
The hardest part for us was knowing that potentially some of these relationships that we had built for a really long time might not continue on. So knowing that we were switching gears, so to speak, we knew that there were going to be people that still wanted to Olympic lift, handstand walk, muscle up, CrossFit, and that we would potentially lose some of those people. And that was going to be really hard for us because we've worked so hard to build trust and to build relationships. And we've been through a lot with those people. We've been in business for, it'll be coming up on 11 years this coming spring. And to look at people that you've gone basically through life with for 8 years, you've watched their kids grow up, you've seen the weddings, the breakups, the good, the bad, the ugly, the celebrations, and to go through all of that with them and then suddenly be like, hey, we're going to offer something different. And they're like, yeah, but I still want to do X, Y, and Z. If they don't see what you see, they might go a different direction. And that for us was the hardest part in this whole decision.
So I can echo that. I remember when my wife and I decided to step away from the gym, and by my wife and I mean, I decided to step away from the gym that I owned at the time. And she supported me. Her first question was, what about our friends?
Yeah.
And I'm like, what do you mean? What about our friends? She said, well, we're not going to be able to see our friends anymore. I said, well, hold on a second. If they're our friends, we'll still see them. If they're not our friends, then we won't. And they were just people we were friendly with because of the convenience of sharing something common on a regular basis that was in the same place with them.
Yeah,
like,
absolutely.
And that was the hardest part for her. For me, that was not the hardest part. But so you mentioned that you worked hard to build trust with these people. And then if you went in a different direction, they may decide to go elsewhere. Do you feel like there's a trust loss, or do you think that I won't give you an and or? Do you feel like it was an abandonment of trust?
I feel like, and the reason why I say that we worked hard is because, unfortunately, we were all love CrossFit. Like we were in it. And I was like deep down, eat, sleep, live, breathe, bleed. This.
You were competitive.
And yeah, very much so. And we would have people walk in our door that were like, hey, I really want to do this, but I don't want to get hurt. And that was like the majority of our consultations. So the trust that we built was, I'm going to show you that you can do this and not get hurt. And it was almost like that was our selling point to get people in. So we worked really hard. Yep, you can do this and not be hurt. Yep, you can do this and not be hurt. And as we went through the years and realized that people were getting hurt, that was the tough part for us. Like, no matter how good we thought we were as coaches, no matter how many certifications or classes or whatever we took, we saw people getting hurt. We had the shoulder problems, we had the back problems, we had the people laying on the floor. And at one point, Sherry and I looked at each other and we were like, what are we doing? Like, we're supposed to be making people healthier. Like, we're supposed to be bringing people in. That's the reason why we opened this thing, is to make people healthier and get them going into this amazing life down the road, feeling great. And we're sending people to orthopedic surgeons. Like, that's the opposite direction.
Well, I think you probably know what the obvious question I have to ask you is when you say something like that. And that is it possible that you guys just weren't doing it well? Because the reason I ask that is that's what people who are in, call it spade a spade, who are in the CrossFit space that you were just describing would say. If you do it well, people don't get hurt.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts to that?
That's a hard conversation because Sherry and I are both level 3s. I've been a level 3 now. I just renewed it for the second time. So I'm coming up on my third renewal here in a couple of years. 9 years as a level 3. And to watch people, I'm watching you do this deadlift. It looks amazing. I'm watching you do this kipping. It looks really good, but your natural, now I know, hey, your natural shoulder position sucks for kipping. I know that now. I didn't know that then. So as I'm watching people get tendonitis in their shoulders and go through physical therapy because their shoulders are beat to shit. And then they come back from physical therapy, go back into the kipping, and once again, we're hurt again. So we're watching this circle of, I'm working my ass off, and we are OCD about the way people move. Like, it's got to look like this. It's got to feel like this. This is the muscle that needs to work. Blah, 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 blah. At 3, 2, 1, go, it's hard to feel that. And as I'm watching people go to orthopedic surgeons and go to physical therapists that are in our gym that we've worked so hard to take such good care of, it was hard for us to see all of that. And we're like, we've got to do a better job. We have to be better. And that's been our theme really since we opened. We have to be better. What can we do to be better? What can we do to be better? Our education needs to be better. our attentiveness needs to be better. We need to care more.
Mm-hmm.
And we felt like we had run into a dead end. We felt like a revolving door.
Well, I think what you said really well demonstrates that it's to be clear, it's not that CrossFit as a methodology is inherently dangerous. I don't think that that's true. I don't think that you think that that's true.
No, I agree with you.
It's that there are people for whom the full expression of it is just a little bit dangerous. Mm-hmm. And you don't necessarily know if you're one of those people until you experience the discomfort that can come from an injury in that environment that comes from overuse of a joint that didn't get overused if it was a normal, healthy, functioning joint.
Yeah.
Right. And this is why one of the things that I think they, not to talk about CrossFit the whole time, but that they could do to really make that product 10x more valuable is put very basic movement assessments in place for people prior to starting any class so that they all have a pre-built-in modification so that they're not doing the things that their joints are not prepared to handle. But go ahead. You were going to say something.
Yeah. And our one of our big driving reasons for jumping on board with you guys, it's funny because when we started with you guys, it was spring of 2020 when we officially started, literally right before the world shut down, which was like, that's a whole nother conversation. And our main reason was because we wanted to make our gym safer. We wanted to make CrossFit safer.
That was our impetus at the time.
Yeah. And I was like, how do we make this thing safer? Because what I'm doing, I still have people that are hurt. Now, it wasn't everybody. I still have amazing members that have been with us since the beginning that have had the things here and there, like the elbow, the tweak in the shoulder, but nothing major. And they've done great. Those are also my people that move really well, that don't have a joint complication of some sort going into it. They have the shoulder range of motion. They squat smooth like a hot knife through butter. And they've done great. Mm-hmm. But my people that have walked in that have the computer job where their shoulders are all bent forward, those are my people that have issues with kipping.
Yeah.
And now that we know that, it's like a light bulb went off.
Well, the interesting thing of what you're describing there is I think that too often people look at, is this movement injurious? And what they're thinking about is, does somebody end up having a surgical need? Are people tearing their ACLs, blowing discs, destroying ligaments in their shoulder? And the answer to that is, generally speaking, no. And I don't think that the risk of those things happening in any gym environment is really greater than any other gym environment. I think that what ends up happening is overuse is a mechanism of just doing the same thing too many times. And part of what dictates too many is how much rest in between, how much time in between doing them, how much range of all of these things. And in the environment that you were operating previously, it was as many reps as you can, as fast as you can, with as full a range of motion as you can, which makes sense on paper. But then when you put it into the real world, it exposes people to the margins of their experience, to use their own words. And if their joints don't have experience going through those margins, it exposes those joints and the soft tissue structures that support them to injury.
Yes, absolutely.
So you came in, you started doing the movement assessments, you started doing some personal training, and you guys did really well, really fast. If I'm not mistaken, your personal training revenue was 50% of what your group revenue was within a few months of being on board. Is that right?
Yeah, that's correct.
Okay.
There was definitely a need for it that we didn't realize that there was, like, we knew that people needed some attention, but it was a big attention getter. Mm-hmm.
Well, what I want to ultimately, by the time that this conversation's over, I think that it was successful. People can understand the sacrifices, for lack of a better word, that you and Sherry, your partner in business, have made to be able to create the environment that not only your members are getting more from, but your staff and both of you. That's where I would like to make sure we get people to, because I think the reason why I was interested in speaking with you wasn't just because you're a success story out of our program. It's because you exemplify to me the mindset shift that is necessary for people to have anywhere near the kind of success that you've had. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
And I want people to be able to get a peek inside of that. So early on, when the personal training started ramping up for you, let's go back a step. We'll come to personal training in a second. We've mentioned before that you pivoted on what you were trying to do, who you were trying to do it for. How did you pivot? What is different?
So one of the big things is we've de-affiliated, which this is kind of our public coming out.
Well, I think changing your Instagram title to Ferrum Athletic Company did that too.
Yeah, that was step number one. We still have a lot of people that message us about wanting to start CrossFit. And I think it's because we're still actually listed on the page because affiliation isn't up until this spring. So we're de-affiliating. There's a couple of reasons besides the fact that, it no longer aligned with the values that we saw in the product that we were providing. Sherry and I are big proponents of being a product of our product.
What does that mean?
And the product that we offer, we feel like we need to be doing the same thing in our daily life. So if I'm going to ask you to eat chicken and eggs and drink more water, I better be eating chicken and eggs and drinking more water. I'm a big proponent of that. And so is Sherry. And so the lifestyle that we lead, it helps us to be able to provide that product. We're walking the walk, so to speak. And we've been down the injury road ourselves. So as we're going through this journey of what does this look like for us, we realized that we needed to fill some holes in human movement that we were not, as a business, helping people fill, meaning eccentric movement, controlled eccentric movement, isometric holds, hitting more ranges of motion that are ideal for people to be getting into, being able to tell people, hey, you don't need to squat today, you need to do step-ups. And that's okay. Getting out of this, everybody does this RX and that's the goal, to your version of RX is totally different than the standard version of RX. And that's okay.
How is that not just CrossFit well done?
Because, well, we've eliminated the word RX. I was just throwing that out there as an example. If you do CrossFit really well, it's like in the heat of the moment, hey, that looks like it's painful. Let's find something that isn't painful and do that. Whereas if I know my client really well and I've watched them move and I've taken them through an assessment and personal training, I know for a fact that, yeah, your squat is fine. However, your right versus left leg sucks. And instead of back squatting today, you benefit more from step ups, knowing that that's what serves my client better as opposed to changing it in the heat of the moment because it hurts.
So you're speaking to having a plan, being proactive, not adjusting the micro and being reactive.
Being reactive, absolutely. So for us, it was eliminating a lot of the 1 rep maxes, especially the 1 rep maxes, the 5 rep maxes, the Olympic lifting, the advanced gymnastics of ring muscle ups, handstand push-ups, handstand walking, the stuff that is inherently risky for the person who has a 9-to-5 job, 3.25 kids, 2 dogs, a white picket fence house, the whole 9 yards. And I think one of our members actually put it best. When I was talking to him about our transition and everything that we've changed. And he's like, I really love what you guys are doing. He goes, and I love it because why would I train like a professional athlete when I don't live like one? And that to me was like, bingo, that's it. And I think that's what people don't realize. Like a lot of the stuff that you get into when you start getting into competitive movements and you start moving really fast, there's a recovery part of it as well. There's a lifestyle part of it. So for us, our big shift has been like, listen, this is not just this. This is how well do you sleep? What are you eating? What's your hydration look like? What's your stress look like? I'm sorry that you're not feeling well today. Let's talk about a different game plan. Let's go for a walk. Tell me about what's happening. All right, let's set a new game plan for the day. And catering towards each person that walks in the door and personalizing it for them, as opposed to, oh, you're having a rough day. Let's just do less weight. You'll feel better when it's over.
I want you to split this hair, because this is an area where I think there's a lot of what I like to call unconscious incompetence in the fitness space, which means people not knowing that they're not doing what you're doing because they don't know the difference between what they're doing and what you're doing. And they look very similar. The best example I've had recently, a lot of light bulbs went off for me when I interviewed Will and Jenny Harris from White Oak Pastures. And I realized they just sell meat and vegetables. They just sell meat and vegetables. And they need a world of people to believe that their meat and vegetables are 5 times as valuable to them as everybody else's, because they cost like 3 to 4 times as much money as everybody else's.
Yeah.
Right. And if you're just looking at a piece of steak next to a piece of steak, you're like, well, they're the same. They're steak.
Right.
But they're very, 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 very different. And I think that somebody in the gym who is making a modification for somebody on a day that they're dealing with a discomfort or a movement that they don't do well will struggle to understand how what they're doing is different than you coming in and saying, oh, you didn't sleep well last night? Let's change these things in your program. How is that any different?
By knowing the person on a deeper level, right? So if you walked in and I just saw you walking around, and I call it the give a shit factor. Mm-hmm. I see you walking in and I'm like, something's wrong with Sean. Something is just not right. Hey, Sean, what's going on? You're like, oh, I got the weight of the world on my shoulders today. Like, everybody chose violence today.
I know what those days are like.
Yeah. Right. All right, cool. Let's go for a walk. And that's when look at, hey, you're in charge. Sean and I are going for a walk. Sean, tell me what's going on. And you just spill it. You know, the world sucks, blah, blah, blah. I had to choose somebody out. I had to fire this person. It just came at me all day today, nonstop. Didn't get a break. Awesome. You and I are going to spend this hour coming up with something that's going to make you feel better today. Let's talk about that. And we design a plan for you for that day that's going to get you out of the gym feeling better about your day without beating you down into the ground. And I think a lot of people don't understand that. A lot of people believe that when you've had a really bad day, you need to come into the gym and just beat the crap out of your body to get it out. And that actually does more harm than good. Mm-hmm. You know, it makes the cortisol level twice as bad. And that stress actually doesn't go away. It actually becomes worse because it puts your body into a terrible state, increases your chances of injury, as opposed to deloading yourself. So if I can come up with a customized plan for you and design it for what you need for your day to get you through all of the shit that you went through today, you leave feeling better. Your joints aren't trashed. You go home, you sleep better. You have a great night of sleep. And you get up the next day and you're ready to take on the day. And you come back in the next day and you're like, yesterday was exactly what I needed. I feel much better today and I'm ready to take on today. So now we have a bigger game plan because the bigger picture is your longevity. You know, it's not Tuesday.
So are you saying that that person wouldn't do a modified version of the group class? They would do something completely different?
Yeah, absolutely.
And where would they do it? Like, would they be alongside the group? How does that work?
If, for example, if it's me and I have time, you'd just be with me for the hour.
Mm-hmm. A one-on-one session.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And guide you through that. If it's something where all of the coaching staff just happens to be taken at the time. Listen, I'm going to give you this plan for today, making sure that it's something that the client knows exactly what they're doing. And I'm going to set up a space for them. Mm-hmm. Here's your space. This is what I'd like you to do today. And everybody that we've talked to and done this for has been totally okay with it. It's not like they don't feel like they're missing out by not being a part of the group. Like they understand, they've embraced the bigger picture.
How did people start to respond when you eliminated from the program some of people's favorite movements? Like when I owned my gyms, if you took cleans out of the program for a week, people, we haven't cleaned in a long time. Like you cleaned last Tuesday.
Yeah.
Right. You took cleans and snatches. I don't know if you took overhead squat. Like, I don't know exactly what movements you took out, but you took out a significant chunk of the quote fun movements, right? Like you took a lot of what makes a CrossFit gym and not a HIIT studio out and replaced it with alternative options. How did people respond when you did that?
There was a lot of questions. We got a lot of yeah, but I love snatching. And I was like, I understand you love snatching. I said, I loved snatching. It's like, until it hurt. Mm-hmm. I was like, it's really hard on your shoulders. And once we had the conversation of, do you know what happens to your shoulder when you snatch? If you don't practice it on a regular basis, let's say you only do it once a week. I played professional golf for, 6 years or so.
Did you?
I did.
Oh man, we'll have to get around in when I'm in town by you or when you're in town by me, and you'll tell me everything I'm doing wrong.
I need to play more. I'll just put it that way. I need to play more. But it would be like me going out and hitting golf balls once a week and then showing up to a professional tournament on Saturday and being like, I'm ready to tee it up. Let's play. Mm-hmm. I'm probably going to play like crap.
Right. Well, I think even more than that is what's missed is if you look at a competitive weightlifter as for example, those guys and women are putting in a significant amount of supportive work around their joints to be able to go hard on a Tuesday.
Yeah.
Right. It's all the things that they do. The heavy snatching days for them are the privileged days.
Yes. Yeah. And they're working on their technique. No, it's a technique. Mm-hmm. Nobody starts Olympic lifting to get stronger. You don't Olympic lift to get stronger. You squat, press, deadlift, that kind of stuff to get stronger. You Olympic lift for power and speed. Mm-hmm. Right. So in order for you to be really good at it, you've got to really work on it like daily. It's a muscle memory technique thing. Just like a golfer has to go out and they have to practice and they hit golf balls every single day. You're working on your technique. Mm-hmm. There's other strength and power that comes along with it from other things. So to only snatch on a Tuesday and then again next Thursday and then again the next Wednesday, it's not enough introduction. It's not enough exposure to the movement on a regular basis for you to do it right. Mm-hmm. Without over pulling, without over cranking on the shoulder. And so once we explain that to people, like, listen, if you want to be an Olympic lifter, I've got an amazing program for that. I've got an amazing gym I can send you to. They're fantastic. I was like, we don't give you enough exposure to Olympic lifts for you to be decent enough or good enough at them for you to not get hurt. We can get you faster and stronger and more powerful with doing that with other movements besides those movements. And your shoulders are going to feel amazing.
How many of those conversations do you think you needed to have with people who were bringing a gripe?
A lot.
Like 10?
Yeah, easily. Because it was, Sherry and I exposed people to it. Mm-hmm.
Right. You told them this is a good idea. And now they're coming to you and saying, why isn't it a good idea?
Why isn't this a good idea?
Right.
And it goes back to the things that we have learned over the years is we didn't know what we didn't know. Mm-hmm. Right. We were educated on this is what you do. This is how you do it. And we're like, yeah, game on. This is what we do. This is how we do it. Until we like to think of ourselves as like the human science experiment. Mm-hmm. Like, we've been through this. We've been down this road. And then what I like to call standing on this side of the marker. I've stood on this side of the marker for a really long time. And I've watched people do this over and over and over again. with some really good outcomes, some mediocre outcomes, and then I've seen some really bad outcomes. Like the guy we saw walk into a competition with both arms in slings because he tore both rotator cuffs because he lost the snatch backwards and held on to the bar.
I've seen some nasty stuff at competitions. Some of the competitions I owned and some competitions I didn't, but I've seen some nasty stuff at competitions. It all goes back to our basic value of making people healthier. Well, I think that when you start to change the program, you run into a situation where you're changing a culture.
Yes, 100%.
And some people will enjoy that culture change and some people will not enjoy that culture change. Yes. It's very much like, I like to think of it in a music, like going to a concert. There is a culture at a country concert that is different than a culture at a rock concert, that is different than a culture at a rap concert, that is different than a culture at an orchestra concert. Yeah. They're just all different cultures. And if people bought tickets to your rock show and they were in the audience and halfway through you were like, now we're going to bring out the San Francisco Symphony Orchestra, they might be like, what is going on? So how did
they better be looking for Metallica to come out with them, right?
Right. That's why I know their name. Was there that? Did you have to deal with that, with people saying, hey, I'm not into orchestra?
Yeah, we did. I had a number of people look at me and say, yeah, but this is my sport.
Really? They used the word sport.
They did. Mm-hmm. This is my sport. And I said, I understand. I said, I completely understand. I said, I was there. It was my sport a while ago. I was like, I dedicated every waking second of my life to this sport. Like, I ate it, drank it. I woke up, my training revolved around it. My sleep, the way I ate, the choices I made, everything revolved around how do I get better at this? Because my goal was to finish top 200 in the world in the age 35 to 39 bracket.
Did you get there?
That was my goal. 220.
20 people cheated.
I know. They had to have. They totally had to have. Gave it my all. 220.
Yeah. It's pretty good.
But it was, I don't think people understand the level of dedication that it takes to get there. They also don't understand that, like, for me to get ready to work out, I've literally rolled out and warmed up for an hour.
Well, but even putting aside the sport of it, I imagine that there were members in your gym who didn't think themselves as competitive athletes, who still were like, hey, I enjoy the energy that this used to bring. And the energy is just different now.
Yeah, there were.
How did those conversations go?
I mean, we've handled them as hard as it is to hear, because you would like to think that as a business owner, no matter what you do, the work that you've put in, that people will be like, yep, I trust that what you're doing is right for me. I've been a member here for a long time. I trust that your decision is the right one. People like what they like. And we wholeheartedly empathize with that. You know, we like what we like. And I had a great discussion with two guys in our gym. And I said, you know, the hardest part about what we've done is programming what everybody needs and not what they want. And both of them looked at me and they were like, yeah, you're right. We see that. Now we get it. They just thought we weren't programming things because whatever. And I was like, no. They're like, yeah, you're right. We need this. They're like, yeah, I want to do X, Y, and Z.
I want ice cream.
Yeah. They're like, but you're right. I need to do step ups, or I need to do tempo Romanian deadlifts and not deadlifts as fast as I can for a 3-rep max.
Right.
As heavy as I can.
How about your staff? One of the biggest things that comes up for gym owners who are newer working with us, especially now, because when you came in, there was a very gradual transition. Your model evolved as our understanding of the model that we were ready to operate evolved. And I appreciate, by the way, you sticking with us while we were trying to figure out who we were. now we have a very, very clear vision of who we are, what we believe in, how we want to deliver it. And when gym owners come on board and start working with us, they are oftentimes fully bought in. Their staff believes they are fully bought in, often because we haven't done a good enough job and the owner hasn't done a good enough job of explaining to the staff, this is what it means to be fully bought into this. When you started making the switches, you were one of the first gyms to have somebody leave a full-time career in corporate America making a meaningful income to become a full-time professional coach in your gym.
Yeah.
I imagine that wasn't the case for all of the coaches. I imagine there had to be somebody who was there who was like, I don't like this. I don't want to do this. Is that the case, or am I mistaken?
No, that did happen to us. Yes.
How did that go down?
It was hard because he'd been with us for a long time and he's a great guy. And when it all transpired and switched over, it was a gradual, like, he's like, hey, I don't want to do this. And at the beginning, everybody on the team was like, yep, we're in. And then as we got into it, he's like, I'm not comfortable with this.
What was it he wasn't comfortable with? Do you remember?
Selling of personal training.
Interesting. Was that because of the money of it? Was it because of the sales of it? Or was it because of the idea that something can't be solved in a group?
Probably the first two, more so than the sales of it and the money of it. Mm-hmm. Wasn't comfortable with it. I mean, he had done some personal training with us and he did really well as a one-on-one coach. But it was more like having the conversation and he wasn't comfortable with it and it wasn't what he wanted to do. And, I was like, I understand. And it was not an easy conversation. As you can imagine, anytime an employee leaves, it's not exactly all rainbows and smiles and hugs. Mm-hmm. It was very difficult to go through. It was difficult conversations to have, and it was difficult to part ways. Mm-hmm.
I think that's the hardest part for people. The staff part. I think the membership part of, so when I say what I'm talking about here for those of you listening is when you move away from being exclusively a group model where your primary focus is delivering the best possible group exercise experience, which means great music, workouts that everybody can do to some degree of, coaches who are high energy, and not that the more people in the room, the better, but the more people in the room to a responsible amount, the better, because the energy feeds off of itself. Right. When you move away from that and you move towards much more deliberate, high touch point coaching, it goes from being a place that people come to for recreational purposes as a way to blow off some steam to being a place that you really have to want to get results from in order to have it make sense to come. It's still fun for the person for whom working towards a meaningful goal is fun, right? It's fun the way that practice on the team that you played on growing up was fun as compared to people who only showed up for game day. Does that make sense? Yep. And some people, with no disrespect to them, would prefer to coach game day every day. And that's what we're talking about.
Yeah.
How many coaches do you have now full-time?
4.
4 full-time?
4 full-time. 4 full-time coaches.
What does full-time coach mean at Ferrum?
Full-time coach is right now, so our Ascend class is getting ready to start when we move into the new building. Full-time is 25 floor hours, 10 non-floor hours, meaning programming. A lot of our coaches help with the version of the group class that we have right now. But they all have some sort of administrative responsibility on top of their personal training, nutrition, programming, coaching, that kind of stuff.
What's an administrative responsibility? What's an example of that? Like, are they keeping your books?
No. Although, shoot, they can have them. Done with that. For example, Mel is our operations manager. So she helps us with standard operating procedures. She helps us with anything somewhat more money oriented as well. She just helped us get together our winter clothing gear. She communicated with him, with the t-shirt guy and the clothing guy, on how that gets done. She helps answer.
You know you're from Florida. The winter clothing gear, the t-shirt guy. In New York,
that's the guy.
That's the sweatshirt guy in New York.
You got it. So we're ordering our winter t-shirts soon. Aaron, for example, is our head coach. He does helps with our programming. He enters all of it into the computer, adds videos when necessary, makes sure that the staff knows what all of the movements are, and is in charge of staff development meetings as far as movements and programming and so on and so forth. Rachel is our human relations coach, and she's in charge of the newsletter, the monthly newsletter. She's in charge of, she puts recovery stuff in the end of our workout every day. So we have recovery movements at the end of every workout. She also sends out postcards to people that they do a good job. We haven't seen them in a while. Somebody's been sick, family member lost. That's her job.
Okay.
And then Eric, who is our newest hire full-time and is getting himself up to speed. He's been doing our product inventory and ordering, but all of them are also part of their full-time is their education, because all of them are enrolled in the ALP program. So part of their pay is studying as well.
Tell me more about that. Not about ALP. What do you mean by part of their pay is studying? Like, do you get paid X number of dollars per month because we expect you to be putting in this many hours of education per month?
No, it's included in their salary.
Okay.
Because I don't want anybody to feel like, hey, you're going through this huge amount of studying and you're putting all of this in to help, all of your time in to help make us better. And we're unappreciative of that. Like, part of your salary is, we know that you're going to have to attend meetings. We know that you're going to have to do a lot of homework. We know that there's a lot of time devoted to this. So part of that off the floor time, that administrative time, is got study built into it.
I see. So instead of saying, for example, we're going to give you 12 hours of administrative time or 10 hours of administrative time, and then after that's done, you can do your studying. You're saying there's 10 hours of administrative time that you're paid for, and inclusive of that is your studying, which might mean you only have 7 hours a week with which you can do administrative work, because 3 of those hours are actually studying and you're paid for them.
Correct.
That's cool. Do they appreciate that?
They do. Very much so.
How do you know?
Because they all work their tails off. They show up, they're on time, they're eager. They ask questions that I personally love. And that one of the big ones is, how did I do? Where can I be better?
Right.
Where can I help? And for someone who's truly appreciative of what they're doing and the time and the education that they're spending, that is the question. Like, if you have a growth mindset, it's, how can I be better? What did I do well? But where can I improve?
Are they making enough money to not need to have another job?
Yes.
That's cool.
Absolutely. 100%.
What can you think of any things that your staff has brought up that gave them fulfillment in the job that they're doing in the business, things that they've done for the client?
When one of our coaches looks at me and they're like celebrating the fact that, hey, this guy could barely walk in the door when he walked in here. And he just did squats to this box holding a 55-pound kettlebell. How freaking cool is that? And then he went out and played tennis that afternoon and he feels great. And you just see their eyes light up. Like, they're so pumped that this person came to us barely able to do anything they really wanted to do. And now they're squatting, running, playing tennis.
Well, let's talk about that person, because I find that interesting. Let's just take it to 3 years ago before we were working together. How often did somebody like that walk through your doors? I imagine they walk through your doors from time to time. I'm curious how often.
Not very.
Okay.
And usually when that person walked through the door and they were like, I need to get in better shape. I have a knee thing. We would say, oh, we can work around that. We didn't really know what to do with that person.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Like, oh, we'll just teach you how to squat and deadlift better. And then we'll just have you row instead of run.
Mm-hmm.
And your knee will feel great.
Right.
And maybe every now and then we were like the blind squirrel that found a nut, and it worked, but not very often. We didn't have a game plan for that person. So more often than not, it was the person that was coming to us that like wanted to get in shape, but was scared to death because they didn't want to get injured. And we're like, cool, we can totally do this because this is for anybody. Anybody can do this. Let's lay it out. Game on. Now that person that walks into it, we have this on a regular basis now.
What's a regular basis?
This month, we've had 3 people come to us that was actually referred to us from our incredible chiropractor. So in the month of December, we've had 3 new clients come to us, one with a horrible hip problem.
Mm-hmm.
She's working with me. The other guy has a hip and a back. He's working with Melissa. And the last guy has also a hip and back, and he's working with Aaron.
Were you getting referrals from the chiropractor before also?
No.
How did that start?
No. Well, he said he would try to send them to us.
Mm-hmm.
You know, because he's like, we've been personally going to him for 8 or 9 years.
And you've been doing a good job. Even like, I want to be clear so everyone understands. You did a good job before you worked with us. And so I'm curious why the chiropractor wasn't prepared. Like he was trying, but couldn't get it done.
Yeah. So he would tell people, listen, you've been coming to me for forever. You need to get this stronger. I have some great people that I can send you to. They're at CrossFit Ferrum. And they would look at him and be like, are you nuts? And he told me this, quote unquote. It's like, people are looking at me like I'm crazy because I'm trying to send them to you at CrossFit Ferrum. So when we rebranded, we created a brochure. Ferrum Athletic Company. This is what we do. This is who we are. We'll help you do X, Y, and Z. He's like, hey, you've been coming to me forever with this chronic back problem. I can no longer help you until you get this thing stronger. Let me send you to my friends. Here's their brochure. We get a phone call. We get an email. We get them walking in the door all the time now. And that for us has been the change.
That's cool.
Yeah.
And how many members do you guys at total right now? Do you know the answer to that?
We're at about 225 right now.
That's good. That's if I'm not mistaken, that's about 75 less than when we started together. Yeah.
Yeah. Yep.
So
when we started together, we were at about 300.
So have you? Let's get through that. That's it. That,
Yeah.
Obviously, think about the person listening to this right now who says,
Yeah.
"Oh, everything is great, but you're down 75 members."
Yeah.
How great could it possibly be?
It's great because when we were at 300 members, now keep in mind, our facility right now, we are 3,250 square feet.
Mm-hmm.
Part of that square footage is taken up with office, bathroom, counter space. So our usable space is about 2,200. 300 members in a 2,200 square foot space.
Mm-hmm.
Our Saturdays, we would plan for having at least 40 people here for one class on a Saturday. It was not uncommon to have 25, 30 people show up for a 5 p.m. class.
How many coaches in that class?
1, maybe 2,
Mm-hmm.
because we never knew when that was going to happen. Sometimes it would be 15 people. Sometimes it would be 30 people.
Right.
And at that point, we're babysitters.
Mm-hmm.
I'm no longer a coach. And when I have these conversations with people will be like, no, you guys do a great job. When I talk to people about people getting injured, no, that's not your fault. It's their fault for not listening properly. And the one big thing that we have learned that we sat with for a really, really, really long time is...
Well, sounds like your town's on fire.
It's burning down right now. I'm sorry. I lost my train of thought with the town burning down.
I apologize. Pete, you were saying that people were telling you it's not your fault, it's their fault. It's not your fault.
Yeah. It's not about us.
Mm-hmm.
And it's our fault. Like it's our responsibility. It is our fault, and when we dove into this, that hit us really hard. Like, yeah, it's not about us, but it's 100% our fault. We've led this path, and to have these conversations with people and for them to be like, oh, it's not your fault, but it's not your fault. And I'm like, but it is. For us, that's been like a big change in what we've done.
So I think that the interesting thing about what you're saying is, I would imagine the reason why people said it's not your fault is because they genuinely knew that you had their best interests in mind, that you were doing the best job that you could possibly do for them, that you were always telling them the truth as accurately as you knew to tell it. And so how could it be your responsibility? You were doing everything that you had promised them that you would do, and you were. What I've always been impressed by both you and Sherry, one of the things that you do that impresses me is your interest in continuing to pursue that extra 1%. It's like there's 1% on the table. We're going to go get it. We're going to go get the 1%.
Right.
I'm curious. You're down 75 members from when we first started. You don't have to give me a number if you're uncomfortable with it. Is revenue down?
No.
Is revenue?
It's not.
Is revenue the same?
From when we had 300 members, it's almost double.
Now it's almost double.
Yeah.
Is that mostly attributed to personal training? Is it attributable to rate corrections? What is it mostly attributable to?
All the above. Rate corrections. Our personal training has just been incredible. I mean, we went from doing 0 sessions a month to, I think in October we did 422.
That's a lot of sessions.
That's a lot of sessions. So, and going back to, us losing people and feeling like a babysitter as opposed to a coach. I apologize. That's where the pre-fired town burning down.
That's my fault. I blew that. You shouldn't apologize.
Our quality is better. I feel like our quality of coaching is better. Our attention is better. The meetings that we have with our staff is making us better. It's the value that we provide is far higher than when we had 300 members. It's planned out better. It's viewed better, and people might argue that, yeah, but you guys did a great job then. And I was like, I did a great job yelling at people. And everybody that's going to listen to this is going to laugh because they know exactly what I'm talking about. It never failed on a Saturday that I would stand up on top of a box and scream at the top of my lungs to get everybody's attention.
You need a whistle.
And be like, yeah, I need to whistle. I need to learn. I don't know how to whistle.
We just buy one and blow into it.
Oh, that's a good point. So we literally felt like the ringleaders. I'm like, hey, you're going to do this and you're going to go over there and you guys are outside. We're going to start this thing in 10 seconds. Is everybody ready? Wait, I got to pee. Like, too late. We're starting.
I remember I remember the member's name who would do that every time.
Yeah.
In our gym.
Wait, I got to pee. So we went from that to, this is what we're going to do. This is what this needs to look like. How are you feeling today? How are you feeling today? Hey, how's that shoulder been? Hey, how's that knee doing? I need you to do this. I need you to do this. You're going to go walk with that coach. And the results that we've seen from our people have been astronomical. Like, people that came to us to lose weight, that didn't lose weight, have now like leaned out. And it's like, holy crap. You guys look amazing. Did
anybody leave and come back? Like, meaning they left when you were the old model, came back with you now in a newer version of yourself and said, now I've heard you're doing things that are more in my style, or has that not happened yet?
Yeah, it's happened. We have, off the top of my head, I can think of 3 right now off the top of my head that have come back. They've gone through full 24 sessions or more of personal training and have gone back into our new group, and they love it.
That's cool.
I've asked them, I'm like, how do you feel now versus how you felt then? They're like, this is amazing. They're like, I feel incredible. And anytime that I feel X, Y, and Z, I remember what Aaron told me during our sessions, and I feel great.
That's good.
So much better. The atmosphere feels different. It feels so much better. I love it. So yeah, we've had quite a few.
Are you paying yourself a salary?
Yes.
Okay. And there's profit on top of that?
Not right now.
Because
we're building a new building.
Well, so we got to get you hooked up with Clever Profits, because that's not profit. What you're describing is, so what that means is you're taking all of what would be profits and putting it into a new building.
Right.
Okay. So that's an investment.
Yep.
And you're using profits to make the investment.
Correct.
Right. So we're opening the new facility down the block from here. When we have a profitable month, we do a profit and loss on the business as it's operating.
Right.
And then we say, okay, we spent $60,000 this month on the investment property. And so, we just have to remember that we invested $60K over here.
Right.
If you weren't building a building, there would be profit?
Yes.
Okay. How far away from your gym is the building that you're opening?
2 minutes.
2-minute walk, 2-minute drive?
2-minute drive.
And
so it's about, what is that, about like 4 miles?
You're going to own this building. Well, it's 4 miles in Florida. 2-minute drive is about 1/2 mile in New York.
Yeah.
You're going to own this building?
Yes, 100%.
When did you start that process?
Oh my God, forever ago.
Mm-hmm.
We started looking at property probably 5 years ago or more.
When you say property, you were looking at land, yeah?
Yes.
Okay.
And it started out with where we are in Jacksonville. Jacksonville apparently is the largest land mass city in the United States. Who knew?
Interesting.
I know. Fun fact. So we're looking around where we currently are, and there's literally nothing to buy where we currently are. We're in a very populated part of the city. So we're trying to look for buildings that were already built, because it would be a hell of a lot easier to buy something already built and just renovate it.
Mm-hmm.
Nothing within 5 miles of us. And we had a realtor that was like, yeah, but you could buy this over there or that over there. And I'm like, that would be like us totally, we may as well just shut down and go open a whole new business in a different part of town. That doesn't make any sense.
They understood property. They didn't understand the purpose of the property for your business.
Exactly. Yep. So one of our members one day was driving home, and she goes down this road, and in these people's front yard is a cardboard sign that says "For sale, text this number."
It was a house?
It was a house. It was a house. So she looks it up, and the property is zoned CRO, which is commercial real estate office.
Interesting.
So it's a commercial piece of property with a dumpy little house on it with a cardboard for sale sign on it. So she calls them. Yep, it's for sale, gives us a price. We get a hold of, because we had a member that was an architect. He connects us with a civil engineer. We make an offer on this property, and we tell these people, hey, we need, our engineer recommends we need 6 months to do our due diligence to make sure that this thing's going to work for us. Mm-hmm. It's not in a flood zone. I'm not going to buy this property and suddenly they're like, oh, you can't build what you want to build here. Literally from the time that we started this, which on that piece of property was August of 2019 is when we made the offer on that piece of property. We are just now getting to the point of being finished to be able to move in the week between Christmas and New Year's.
What a convenient week.
So convenient. My mom's thrilled.
Sorry, at this pace, that's when we're going to move into our space too.
Yeah, it's like Merry New Year. I don't know.
Whatever.
I don't even know.
Are you excited about that?
So, I can't wait. We can't wait. The new space that we have designed is going to be ideal for where our business is heading and what we're doing.
Is it near anything else, or is it in is your next door neighbor houses on both sides?
Actually, our next door neighbor is a dentist.
Okay.
With 2 chiropractors in the office, literally directly next door.
All right.
Those chiropractors have come to our gym to say, hey, we're excited that you guys are going to be our neighbors. And we're like, cool. Do you know what we do? And they're like, nope, we have no idea. We're like, come on in.
Mm-hmm.
Let us tell you what we do. So 2 chiropractors and their office manager came in. We took them all through assessments. We showed them exactly what we do. And they're like, this is fantastic. We'd love to be able to refer clients to you. They're like, ideally what happens is the client comes to us. They literally walk next door and they come see you. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Game on. So that's our neighbor to the south. Our neighbor back behind us is a cemetery. And the neighbor just up from us is a place called the Italian American Club. And I think there's a couple houses over there, but we're in a much busier section of Jacksonville. Like just over the bridge we're going into is a very commercialized section of town.
And who's the client that you want to find you now? If you could describe the perfect person, who are they?
The person that's lost. Okay. Meaning the person that is looking to make a turning point in their life. The person that has walked into a gym and not been able to get the answers that they're looking for, or they feel intimidated walking into that gym. The person that had not only have they not got their answers there, but they've gone to doctors, chiropractors, physical therapists religiously and not gotten their answers there either. Mm-hmm. And they feel lost. And they're like, I just need something to help me to turn my life around.
Are they coming?
That's our person.
And is that person coming?
Yes, they are.
That's cool.
They have been for a little while now, and it's awesome.
Are most of them more interested in your personal training or in your new group, or both?
A little bit of both. We've had, I'd say it's a pretty equal share. Like we've had people that, I'm like, what's your goals for right now? And they're like, just to get out of pain.
Okay.
And then we've had the people that are like, I'm looking to be active. Like I want to get off my couch. I want to get off my butt. And I want to be the active person. Awesome. This is your path. And it's been really fulfilling to watch a wide variety of that, but that specific group come in.
Mm-hmm. It's cool. It's fun.
It's very cool. It's very rewarding.
Well, I think that's the most important thing. We can all make money doing whatever we want. Mm-hmm. Owning a fitness business is not the easiest way to make a ton of money. Doesn't mean you can't make good money. It means it's not going to be the easiest way to do it. And so you better love it.
You better love it. Mm-hmm. I've had a lot of people come up to us over the past couple of years and express interest in wanting to become a coach. And I've been really honest with them. And I've said, that's great. It's going to take a lot of time. And I think one of the biggest things that I would love for people to be aware of is to be decent at this, moving into good at this, moving into world class at this requires a ridiculous amount of work and experience, because with the exception of the ALP program, I've never experienced anything educational wise that's been more than like a couple of days. Even
the level 3?
The level 3 was a really hard test that I failed the first time. Mm-hmm. It took me a long time to study for it, but I didn't know exactly what I was studying, if that makes sense. Like there's a ton of study material up, and I read it and I looked over it and I studied it and I thought I knew it. And I went and I took the test and I failed. Mm-hmm. And I was mad. Mm-hmm. So I was like, I don't fail tests. Like, that's not my jam. It's not what I do. And it took me about, a month or so to reprogram my mind and be like, all right, this level 3 test is one of the main tests that they have to become a level 1 trainer, a seminar staff, a level, or the seminar staff for the level 1
to be a level 1 coach.
Right. So I was like, what do I need to be really good at? And what do I need to know if I were to be on seminar staff? And that changed the way that I studied. Mm-hmm. And then I applied that in the gym. And then I went back and I took the test. And it was great for the CrossFit methodology. It was great for the movements. What I've learned a ton of since then is actually come from the CEUs that I've had to take for the level 3. You know, a lot of the CEUs are anatomy courses, mm-hmm. which I found very valuable because I'm a bit of an anatomy nerd. It's actually part of what led us to you guys, because back at that time, the immersion and the weekend seminar were part of the level 3 CEUs. I
think I know we just applied to have ALP be a part of the CEUs. We'll see what happens with that.
Yeah. And that was one of a part of what led us to you was those CEUs. And to get started though, being a coach, mm-hmm. like where I started was an ISSA personal training certification. You know, I'm out on the road, I'm playing golf, touring the country, and I'm like, I need an off-season job. Like, I think being a personal trainer would be cool. Mm-hmm. Like, that sounds super fun. I like working out. I like sports. I like helping people. That's got to be way fun. Mm-hmm. So I messaged a friend and I was like, hey, what does it take to be a personal trainer? She's like, oh, you just need the certification, and sends me the link for ISSA. I'm thinking that it's going to take a really long time. See, I'm thinking of school.
Right.
And I get this book in the mail that's like, yay thick. And I start reading it and looking over what it takes to get the certification. It's like, you know, whenever you finish the book, you're going to take this online test. And the test is open book. And I'm like, well, game on, because I suck at reading. I'm not going to lie. Mm-hmm. I am a really slow reader. So if I can just skim it and then take the test, mm-hmm. and the test is open book, sweet. So that's what it took for me to get my personal training certification. And then I get it and I'm like, I don't know what the hell I am doing. Mm-hmm. Like now I'm okay to go coach people and teach people. Like, I don't know what I'm doing.
Right.
So for me, what's been most valuable is just the experience that I've had over the past 15 years of personal training and coaching and owning a gym. It's been the life experiences have been a huge part of this educational process, which is no different than a medical professional that has to do residency or any kind of professional that has to do an internship. Mm-hmm. They give that to you for experience.
Right.
And in the fitness world, they don't have that. So when we've had to bring new coaches on and people are like, hey, you're new coach, I'm like, they're just not experienced yet. You know, or the person comes back, hey, I have this certification that I got this weekend. I'm ready.
Right.
I'm like, you're not ready.
You're ready to start learning.
Yeah. You're ready to start learning because it's a long road. Mm-hmm. And the best learning is experience. You know, you can have all the education you want. It would be like you going to school to be a surgeon, not doing a residency, and then walking in and they're like, here you go, open heart surgery.
Well, I think it's also, I think also the education that you take needs to include experience within it, right? There's a difference between studying for a test, taking a test. And this, you know, I'm talking more about ISSA than the level 3. I've gotten my national certification for personal training. I have not gotten my CrossFit level 3. I can't speak to that. What I'm speaking about is the idea that if you can read a book, take a test, there is no indication that you're able to apply the information you got from that book in a real world scenario that makes you valuable for a client.
100%.
And that's a big reason. Like, that's the driving force behind the way that we developed ALP, is to force experience into the education. It takes 13 months to finish because we want you to have to do things that demonstrate you understand what you just learned with a real person in real life. So it's cool to hear that you're getting that out of it.
Yeah, the educational value that, especially our newest coach that has jumped into it, mm-hmm. Veronica has dove in head first. She actually walked into my office the other day and she goes, "Hey, I want to take everybody on staff through an assessment." She goes, "I want to start with Sherry. I want to go through everybody and I want to end with you."
Okay.
I'm like, "Are you prepared for that?" Like, you're going to get a whole lot of feedback.
Did she do it?
But she's doing it. Yeah.
Okay.
She's made it through. I don't know that I've seen her do everybody. She hasn't gotten to me yet. So I'm like, you better be prepared. Like, you need to eat a lunch.
We're going to be here for a while.
We're going to be here for a while.
Andrea, is there anything I didn't ask you that you would like to share with people?
If people could understand the difference between just walking into a gym to join a gym and walking into a gym to be provided value that will help you reach your goals, if that's the message that we could relay to the entire world, I feel like we could change the future of longevity and health.
What is the difference?
Walking into a gym to just walk into a gym. You don't know what you're doing.
You're talking about the client or the member.
Yes.
Okay.
Yep. Like, Sean's like, "Hey, I need to start working out." Or my doctor tells me I need to start working out. Cool. There's a gym 2 miles from me. I'm just going to go get a membership. Don't really know what I'm doing. Don't really know what I'm looking for. But here I am. It costs you for access to that gym $20 a month. It doesn't really work. You don't know what you're doing. You don't know about nutrition. You don't know anything. So nothing changes. So you have this mindset of, I'm always going to get this because this is just me and this is my genetic makeup and it is what I've tried everything. Versus the gym that's going to provide you the value and walk the journey with you, that knows how to get you from point A to point B. Hey, you walked into the gym. Your doctor told you have these things you need to work on. Your goal is to be kick ass when you're 65 or 70. This is the journey. This is the path. We're going to lay it out and we're going to walk this thing together. It's going to cost you a lot more money. But how do you want to feel when you're 70?
What would it cost them to come and do it with you?
Our personal training sessions start at $102 a session. And we have just a flat rate for our personal training. Our Ascend class, which is going to be the merge of individualized programming for just you and a group class session at the end, if your coach feels that that's what you need, is $595 every 4 weeks. And then we wanted to be able to offer people what we call our built programming, our built class, which is like a maintenance program. So once you get to the point where you're like, I'm ready to tackle the world and I'm ready to move into this next fitness journey on my own, we wanted to be able to provide a service for that looks exactly like what the rest of our model looks like, so that they could stay with us on that journey. That class is $230 a month. And at any time during this journey, they want to come walking back over and, hey, I'm here I need to start a new journey. Andrea, help me with this new journey. I want to start back over with some personal training. Awesome. Come on over. Let's walk this new journey together.
I love it. If people want to learn more about you, where can they go?
Our business Instagram is at Ferrum Athletico. And my personal is A.N. Werner with an E, 24.
Perfect. Andrea, thank you for coming on.
Thank you, Dr. Sean. I appreciate it.
I hope you enjoyed this episode of the Active Life Podcast. Please remember, give us a hand, rate it, review it wherever you listen to shows. We are on a mission to humanize the healthcare industry by professionalizing the fitness industry to empower the individual to live a life unlimited by the way that their body looks, feels, or performs. If you are inspired by that mission and want to jump on the wagon, find us anywhere. Active Life Professional on Instagram, Active Life RX on Instagram. Come to me personally at Dr. Sean Pastuch. We want to welcome you onto the train. We want you to be a part of the mission. We want to offer you the opportunity to pursue this right alongside us. We're inspired by your effort, and we hope to help you in your journey. Turn pro.